there was some excitement on my part, and in some circles that I run in, there were some rumors going around actually that this was going to be the Biden administration banning TikTok. So let's go to the part 2 here and put this up there on the screen. This was a really landmark report that dropped a couple of days ago from Forbes magazine. And what they say is that TikTok parent company ByteDance planned to use TikTok to monitor the physical location of specific American citizens. And I think that why this is so important is that, look, everybody has ridiculed people saying that we should be worried about the Chinese government have access to data. They're like, who cares? Why does it matter? Well, specifically in this report, what they say is that internal materials showed that the TikTok CEO and others have been using data from the app to keep track of the specific location of American citizens for non-advertising purposes.
Right.
You're not only for ads.
Right.
Which is what they're, listen, Google,
You're
Facebook. You're
only allowed to surveil us if you're going to try to turn a profit off of us.
At least that we understand.
As a government entity, no. That's where we draw the line. You got to try to turn a profit off of us. That's the only way it's allowed.
Yeah, listen, Facebook, Google, they have everything about us, but at least they're just trying to make money. This is all just about, straight up surveillance.
Should all be banned,
ByteDance,
honestly.
And more. Yeah, I don't even disagree on that part.
The surveillance capitalism stuff is incredibly nefarious as well, but
what it does show us is that long-standing security experts have always warned. They're like, the TikTok app is significantly more malicious than many others in terms of the permissions that it has on your phone, even more so actually than Facebook and others. And they've been warning about some of the loopholes within it. Location data obviously is something that almost every app has, and it really just comes down to whether you trust some of the safeguards in place. And I don't trust them on the U.S. companies. No. At least in this country, you ostensibly need to get a warrant, and technically the company can fight you in court, as we saw with Apple. That does not exist in China. The ByteDance CEO has literally had to pull apps. ByteDance used to have a Reddit clone, which is like a news thing in 2016. The current CEO of the company, Zhiming, I think is his name, he had to issue an apology saying that he apologized because there was a story went viral on his app, which was embarrassing to the CCP. They destroyed the app overnight. And he had to put out a letter saying that he was apologizing for not abiding by CCP socialist principles and Xi Jinping thought. That's a literal quote from him.
Well, and this is part of our Western arrogance in a way where we've just projected our model onto them and just assumed it works just like it does here in the company. Of course, the companies are totally separate. And why would you think that? Even here, that's, not always the case. But it's, a very different dynamic here when you're talking about the Chinese government and you're talking about these large companies and the way that ultimately they have the final say and they have access to everything they want to have access to. There were other incidents too, I think with a ride-sharing app, remember, where they were like, we want your data. And they're like, okay, we have no choice. Here you go. After pledging that, of course, they would keep it ultimately private. The other thing to say here is there's a massive role for Congress to pass legislation that would make it so that apps are not allowed to collect data that they don't directly need to do the thing that the app is about. If you had that kind of legislation in, because right now it's basically the Wild West. If you had that kind of legislation in, you could use it to crack down on TikTok and whatever data they're gathering that they don't actually need in order to be able to provide the service. Would it be like total silver bullet? No, but at least then you would have some tool that you could use and consumers would have some kind of protection, not just with TikTok, but across all of their digital life.
Yeah, and look, I think that the Biden administration is a rebind, right? Because on the one hand, they don't want to piss off young people. And I get it. I'm sure many of the people who watch the show use TikTok. On the other hand, what I think they need to pursue is a forced sale of the company. I think that's the fairest thing, which is to say, look, I'm not a fan of TikTok, in terms of what it's doing to society, but whatever. It's a free country. People can do what they want. I would just say we need to safeguard citizens and say this company, as this is what the Trump administration tried to do. He's such an idiot, he wasn't actually able to pull it off, which is, you're like, look, TikTok can exist. You just have to sell it to a U.S. entity and keep all the data on U.S. soil. The current view that the Biden administration is pursuing, I reject completely. They're trying to broker some deal where TikTok only stores its data here in Oracle servers, and a, quote, independent board will review it from time to time, but ByteDance remains ownership. It's ludicrous. You cannot have that. Whenever ByteDance's CEO and all of them are complete, I'm not even gonna say toadies, because I don't even think that they necessarily want to be in this situation. But if you want to be a billionaire in China, You don't want to happen what Jack Ma happened. You don't want to be locked in your basement and do a forced apology video. You got to toe the line. And even if you don't, you got family, you got kids, you got uncles. They'll do anything they can to twist your arm. So they're in a tough spot. And we should just put ourselves in the easiest position. I think a forced sale makes the absolute most amount of sense. And if they can pull it off, I would support it 100%.
Yeah.
But if they pursue the other option, absolutely not.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do actually like TikTok. I think TikTok is fun. I think it's funny. I think it's very creative. Like
it can be.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's like all things. All things are fine.
I mean, lots of it is stupid.
But when I look at time on app for some of these
funny.
kids, I'm like, this cannot be good. Look, I'm just
yeah,
saying.
but that's everything.
Yeah.
It is everything. I mean, it is very it's very addictive. There's no doubt about it. But that's the whole goal of every single freaking thing they put on this.
True.
So that's a whole separate conversation. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.